And welcome into another edition of Musso at the Box. Fired up for this one today, guys. We take our post-draft outlook on 2025. We'll go through the entire roster. We'll give you the numbers. We will look at position battles, and there are a lot of position battles with the 2025 LSU Tigers. Overall thoughts on the roster. I'm not going to give you a starting lineup because I didn't take time to actually put guys into a lineup. But what I will do is tell you who I think starts if they had to play a game today. We will talk pitching, starting rotation. We will talk all of it. This is going to be a information-filled episode here when you look at the 2025 team. Because what we always say is, you have certain hurdles in the offseason, right? We've talked about them over and over again. Your season finishes, you go through the portal window, you go through your portal ads, then you get through the draft, and after the draft, you normally have a really good handle on what the team will look like. The other hurdle you have to pass that doesn't really impact LSU this year at all is the MLB draft signing date, right? Where guys have to sign their contract by. It doesn't really impact LSU because you expect everybody who got drafted to sign. So really what you have here is a really good handle on what your team looks like. And for LSU, it's really, really good. Now, they also aren't done. And you saw that today. And that's actually where we're going to start here momentarily because it impacts 2025. But first, I will tell you, smash the like button if you haven't already. Get subscribed up to the YouTube channel if you have not already. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Follow me on the social medias. And let's get right into it. So, like I said, we'll go through all the numbers and everything as a whole. But I want to start with the big recruiting news of the day. And that was Jay Johnson flipping his second commitment from Texas A&M in, a matter of 3-4 hours, maybe not even that, in a matter of 2 hours on Wednesday. And that was Cooper Williams, a left-handed pitcher. And before that happened, I was prepping this show out, and I had in there to talk all about the need that they still have at left-handed pitcher. And then this news pops, and they get Cooper Williams. This is a massive, massive get for a number of reasons. Number one, he's extremely talented, and we'll go through that momentarily. Number two, you took him from a division, not from a division. I guess you could say that. You took him from a division rival, even though there's no divisions anymore in the SEC starting now, after July 1st of this year. LSU's going to play Texas A&M every single season in baseball. They're one of your permanents. You took this guy from them. That in of itself makes it huge. So who is Cooper Williams? Cooper Williams is out of Alvin, Texas. He will be at LSU in the fall, so class of 24 grad for the 25 season. Number 12 left-handed pitcher in America. Number 73 overall player in America. Cooper Williams was the third-ranked player in Texas A&M's class. That's who you just went and poached. You add him into LSU's class, and now he gives the Tigers 7 top 100 players that are going to make it to campus per perfect game. He is, like I said, extremely talented. It's a 3-pitch mix. The fastball is up to 93 from the left side already. Big slider, and has a changeup that's still developing. And that's really the thing you talk about with Cooper Williams. He's still developing. When you look at him from a size standpoint, 6'4", 175 pounds. There is still a lot of projection left in this guy. So you get him on campus. You get him in there with Nate Yeskie, see what you can do with him in the fall. How much can he contribute for you as a freshman? Given your numbers at left-handed pitcher, he's going to have to do that. But it's the projectability with a guy like this that is so enticing if you're LSU. So this is a massive get at a position of need. Talent-wise, position of need-wise, and again, you took him from a team that is going to be one of your permanents in the Southeastern Conference schedule. So all of that massive when you look at Cooper Williams. Just a really, really big get and bolsters an already deep LSU class. Hats off. LSU poaching recruits from Texas A&M has become a thing. Brian Kelly and his staff took like 4 of them at the end of the recruiting cycle in football, and Jay Johnson took 2 more on Wednesday. The other guy is Ethan Klaus, or Ethan Claus, not quite sure how he pronounces his name. We'll approach that bridge when we get to it, but he's in the class of 2025. He still has his senior year to play in high school, but we'll have plenty more time to talk about him. Wanted to really focus in on Cooper Williams because he will be on campus in the fall and be part of LSU's team in 2025 and figures to play a pretty big role. So, putting that aside and looking at the rest of the team, let's talk numbers. So LSU, you had all those players enter the transfer portal. You had 9 players drafted, and all of them are expected to sign. You had 4 signees drafted, and all of them are expected to sign. And you had 1 transfer commit drafted, Luke Hayden, and he is expected to sign. When you look at just your returners from 2024, and keep in mind, your roster limit in 25 is once again 40. I believe this is the last year of that. You shouldn't really have any more COVID years. You might have 1 or a few hanging around there, but you're at 40 again for 25. I think that's the last year. So if you look at just the guys returning from 2024, and now you add back in Michael Braswell, you add back in Jared Jones, LSU has 14 players back from the 2014. You're a long way from 40, but you get there in a hurry. When you look at the junior college ads, LSU has 5 junior college ads. Tanner Reeves, an infielder, an outfielder in Daniel Harden, first baseman in Trevor Schmidt, catcher in Blaze Priester, left-handed pitcher in Connor Ware. That's 5 more. You add your transfer portal ads into this. Take out Luke Hayden, but add the rest of them in. You have 11. We won't run through all of them, but you have 11 transfer portal ads, and then your signing class, now including Cooper Williams that you're getting to campus, you have 11. That puts you at 41. So you're actually 1 over your limit. That's not a problem. You have red shirts and things like that that can go in there. And honestly, you could see some attrition out of this signing class, especially with Jared Jones. Out of the signing class. I guess you could there too. But out of the transfer class with Jared Jones specifically returning because LSU loaded up at first base. Expecting Jones probably not to be here, and he will be. So you could see something there, but they're great on numbers. Like, they will easily get there. That is not a concern for Jay. You're 1 over, and like I said, natural attrition will take place, whether it is, redshirting a guy here or there. All of those things happen, and you'll easily get there. So numbers-wise, you're fine. What's interesting to me about this LSU team, and I'll call back something that Jay Johnson said in his postseason wrap-up press conference. Like, not right after the season ended, but a couple weeks after he meets with the media and he does the postmortem. And he said a couple of things there, and we talked about him on the show. One of the things that I found most interesting was he talks about having to build your team 1 year at a time now. And I understand in a sense what he's saying. I'm not going to get into that whole conversation that we had about it. I think there is a way to do it both. And I think you kind of saw that from LSU in this cycle where you have guys coming back like Jared Jones, like Michael Braswell, who have been in the program, or Jake Brown and Stephen Milam and Ashton Larson, who can really be the core of your team. And then you went and got great pieces. So yes, it looks different year to year, but your team always looks different year to year with guys sliding in who weren't starting, with guys moving on and things of that nature. That was basically my whole take there. But the other thing that really stuck out to me that Jay mentioned in that press conference, and again, that's back in June now, was when he talked about the depth of that 2024 team and how it might have worked against LSU. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't want to put words in Coach's mouth. I'm paraphrasing there that, because they had so many guys that they wanted to try to get on the field and whatnot, it took them a while to find their combination. And that's more than fair. We talked about that over and over again. Settle on a lineup. Just, I don't care at this point. Just who do you think are your best 9 and throw them out there. It's a pain for guys to have to get into that groove, or not the groove, but it's a pain for guys to show up to the ballpark every day and not know if they're playing. It makes it really hard to form consistency. And he's right. You had a lot of guys and a lot of really talented guys, and maybe that worked against you. And I think at parts of the season, it did. The interesting thing is, I look at this LSU team that they've put together for 2025. I see the same thing. I see an insanely deep team with multiple guys capable of contributing at multiple different positions, and you have hard decisions to make on who you're going to play. You have a lot of guys that you're going to want to keep happy. Let's see how they handle that this year. Because I said this at the end of the show, and I understand it was 32 minutes long, and maybe not all of you stayed to the end. So a lot of you are probably still here right now. I'll say it again. LSU has the pieces in 2025. That is not debatable, and we're about to get into them. They have the pieces. They are immensely talented. They have the depth, all of that. They have the pieces in 2025 to make a deep run, a run at the whole damn thing. The question is, will it come together? In 2024, they had the pieces. They had 9 players drafted. That was the second most in all of college baseball. Talent wasn't an issue. It just didn't all come together. Will it in 25? Well, if it does, this is what you're going to be looking at. Where do y'all want to start? Because position battles are damn near everywhere. Like, there's so many options, like we just said. Let's start with the starting rotation, because I know everyone wants me to give a projected starting rotation, and I don't really know if I can do that right now. We can work through it, and let's try it. But right now, if I look at this team, and I see candidates who can start for LSU in 2025, I will give you Chase Shores, Cade Anderson, Jaden Newt, Zach Cohen, Devin Sheeran, Jacob Myers, William Schmidt, Connor Ware, Anthony Ianson. Y'all, that is 9 guys. 9 guys. And I give you those because they are all either established starting pitchers in college baseball or just so talented that you have to give them the opportunity to do it. Take Zach Cohen, for example. Zach Cohen is an established starting pitcher in college baseball. Chase Shores is immensely talented, throws 100, but it's a small sample size. You've seen him start games at LSU, but you really haven't. He never really got past 1-2 innings in those starts as a freshman early in 2023, and then you moved him to the back end of the bullpen. Can he make that transition? I hope. He's going to be given every opportunity to do so. He's got multiple pitches, but it is a risk to bring a guy from the bullpen and see if he can hit there. Jacob Myers is an established starting pitcher in college baseball, in Division I college baseball. Does he walk a lot of people? Hell yeah. Does he need to fix that? Absolutely. If he's going to ever start at LSU, if he's going to ever pitch at LSU, the walk number has to come down, okay? But the stuff's electric. He has been a 2-year starter in the game. That's a guy that has an opportunity and will be given an opportunity at LSU. Anthony Ianson is probably the combination of all of them. Anthony Ianson, well, actually, yeah, let's just go to him. I was going to throw Devin Sheeran in there in the same boat as Chase Shores, where he's immensely talented, whatever. Anthony Ianson is the combination of all of them, where he is a guy who is a top 100 draft pick, projected in 2025, has elite stuff up to 97, maybe even bump 100 from the right side, 3 pitches, all of them elite usage on the 3 pitches, where his fastball, slider, and curveball were all 25% usage in 2024. And he's an established pitcher, starting pitcher in college baseball. So that's a guy where I look at Anthony Ianson, and if I'm working through this, I say I'll be shocked if he's not in your starting rotation opening weekend. I'll be shocked. I think Chase Shores also gets that opportunity. But then there's a guy like Cade Anderson, y'all. If Cade Anderson takes the next step and can pitch in a starting role on the weekend for LSU in conference play, he's absolutely going to be that guy. He could be one hell of a Sunday. But then you also have William Schmidt, who just turned down upwards of $3 million to come to LSU, to live out his dream, and had the best curveball arguably in the draft, not just in high school, in the draft. That's a guy who absolutely gets an opportunity. So you see what I mean? The two that I feel very comfortable saying I believe will be in the starting rotation right now, again, it's July, are Shores and Ianson. And then I think you could go anywhere. You could go Shearing. You could go Cohen. You could go Newt. You could go Anderson. You could go William Schmidt. Like, you could just go from there. Take your pick. It's an embarrassment of riches there. And whichever guys don't make it in should be valuable bullpen pieces for this team. I want to stick with pitching real quick because I have a hypothetical, and then we'll get into all the position battles in the field. LSU, like I said off the top, I had really looked at left-handed pitching as just a massive need for them still. And they went and flipped Cooper Williams from Texas A&M, and it's awesome. But if I look at LSU's team right now for 2025, and I look at left-handed pitching, I count Cade Anderson, DJ Primo, Connor Ware, and Cooper Williams. I count 4. So I posed the question, would LSU let Jake Brown pitch in 2025? They love him in the field. They love him as a hitter, and you started to see why down the stretch of in 2024. He really started to come into his own. He really grew up. But the scouts liked him as a pitcher out of high school more than a hitter. He was drafted in the 15th round by the Texas Rangers out of high school as a pitcher. It's a low to mid-90s fastball. Like, it's really good from the left side. And you didn't see it at all. They shut him down in 2024 from a pitching standpoint. Jake Brown is someone who has legit two-way potential at the college level. And I want to see, with only 4 left-handed pitchers right now on the roster for 25, and you're already at 41 players out and allowed to have 40, is Jake Brown a realistic option to pitch in 2025? I, for one, am 100% here for it. It doesn't have to be in a starting role, but could that guy be at the back end of your bullpen? Could he be playing center field and you bring him in to be, a back end of the bullpen guy for you? That's just something that I want to see. And I'm really curious how they handle that this year. Jay Johnson, for what it's worth, I don't remember when it was during the season, but he never shut the door on Brown pitching in his time at LSU. This really could be the opportunity for that to happen in 2025. So file that away. That would give you 5 left-handed pitchers, which is more than enough. You had 10 last year, which was probably too many. If you can turn Brown into something there, 5's pretty good. And then, oh, by the way, you still have Gavin Guidry at the back end of your bullpen. Like, you've got plenty. One more name I'd like to throw into the starting pitching ring potentially is a freshman Maverick Rizzi, who is a top 250 draft prospect that made it to campus. And it's a big 6'9" guy with 220 pounds, mid-90s fastball. Can he work his way potentially into a look when he gets to campus in the fall and goes through all the scrimmages and whatnot? Just file that away. But like I said, the two that I feel very confident who are going to get an opportunity opening weekend, even right now in July, are Chase Shores and Anthony Ianson. All right, position battles. Let's take catcher first because it's probably the easiest one to go through. Blaze Priester, Cade Arambidi. Those are going to be the top 2 guys competing for that job. I think right now it's probably Priester that has the edge there before they even hit the practice field. It's probably Priester that has the edge. He's just experienced college baseball, 2 years of junior college, even 1 year at LSU, even though he didn't play, but 1 year at this level going through scrimmages and all of that. He's the more experienced guy. Arambidi has the higher upside. Like, I believe that. That's a guy that could have been was at one point projected a first-round pick out of high school. All right, he's the number 13 player overall in the country, according to Perfect Game, the number 1 catcher in America. When you're talking upside, that guy's probably got it. But experience in college baseball, it's Blaze Priester, and I think he ultimately gets the nod. But then again, you had plenty of guys with experience in college baseball going into 2023, like Alex Milazzo, like Hayden Travinski, and Brady Neal came in here and started day one as a freshman at catcher because of upside. So let's wait and see what happens with Cade Beatty. But if I have to pick here today, I would tell you Blaze Priester is going to be the catcher opening day for LSU. Now you get into things that are just more complicated. So let's take the least complicated out of the three, and that's Infield. And boy, isn't that nice to say, because this was the biggest question mark on the team 2 weeks ago. And now you're really left with one. Jared Jones is going to start at first base, and I've had people ask, would he stay at first base or go to DH? Jared Jones is staying at first base. Y'all, Jared Jones is back at LSU to improve his draft stock. He's only going to do that by playing a position. That's it. Jared Jones DHing doesn't help him. He's going to play first base. He's your starter. He should be. He's the best first baseman on the team. Steven Milam is going to start at second base. Michael Braswell is going to start at shortstop. Third base. There are two names to really keep an eye on here. And it's the Utah Valley transfer, Daniel Dickinson, and your junior college transfer from Blinn, Tanner Reeves. And when we talked about Infield, I've consistently called Reeves the wild card because he's extremely athletic. He's extremely versatile. He hits for average. He's shown that he can hit for power. But in his career in junior college, he's hit for about 370. The interesting thing is Daniel Dickinson and him are basically the same type of guy. Dickinson is extremely versatile, can play all positions on the infield, maybe not first base, but he can play second, short, or third. He has hit 369 in Division I college baseball, or 369 in Division I college baseball for his career. Just came off an 18-homer season, so has shown the power. Can swipe bases, has set the Utah Valley record in that for a career just in 2 seasons. And is a top 100 projected draft pick in 2025. If I'm picking, I'm going Dickinson on upside and experience. Tanner Reeves is a great player and is going to have a role at LSU in 2025. I just don't believe right now, again, before they even hit the practice field, that it's at third base starting opening weekend. I think that's going to be Daniel Dickinson. So I will give you an infield from third to first of Dickinson, Braswell, Milam, Jones. That's what I believe. And again, Reeves is that wild card and everything. The other thing I will throw out is one of the freshmen, because you did get 4 of those 5 infielders to campus. And the 3 shortstops to look at specifically, Michael Ryan, who was a top 250 draft prospect and went undrafted. Can that guy come in and push for time as a freshman? We'll see. Then you have David Hogg II and Kason Evans. Ryan Costello is a first baseman. He's probably not going to play third. But Evans, Hogg, and Ryan, can they push Reeves and Dickinson for that spot? That's what I want to see. But right now, I say Daniel Dickinson takes it solely just because of upside, and that's a guy who can hit leadoff for you immediately at LSU. I do believe. But you have great options there, and Reeves is just a wild card that when he gets his, kind of like Milam last year, y'all, when Tanner Reeves gets his opportunity, pay close attention because you might not be able to get him off the field after it. Let's go designated hitter. I'm saving outfield because it's the most complicated. But let's go designated hitter. I have Luis Hernandez, Dalton Beck, and Eddie Yaman listed here. Hernandez and Yaman can both also play first base. Dalton Beck can actually also pitch as a lefty. So that's another one. You kind of throw him into that same category potentially as Jake Brown. But I don't know if Dalton Beck really fits into LSU's outfield right now. So I have him at DH, but he's a great hitter, like great bat. All those guys are a bat. that we just went through. All of them can hit for power. All of them have shown to be able to hit for average as well. In Hernandez, Beck, and Yaman. So that's massive, and that's why I look at those. You could see some platoon action there. If it's not one of them, the thing to keep an eye on is the odd man out at other positions. A guy like Tanner Reeves. A guy potentially like Josh Pearson, who's going to have a hard time breaking into this outfield right now. You have options at DH. DH and the outfield are the places you have the most options to plug and play. So that will be extremely interesting to watch. I don't have an answer for you right there, right now. I just don't. I think if you like gun to my head, make a pick if they had to play a game today, I don't think it's any of those. I think it's one of the odd man out from the positions. I think it's either Pearson or Reeves. Josh Pearson, that is, or Reeves. Today at DH. And knowing what I'm about to say about the outfield, I would tell you it's Josh Pearson. Because, why? Everybody knows the answer. Why? Because they trust him. So let's talk that outfield. Brown, Larson, Josh Pearson, Chris Stanfield, Derek Curiel. Those are the 5 guys I have going for 3 spots. And then, oh, by the way, you have others with experience like Dalton Beck, who's an outfielder, Eddie Yaman, who has played outfield at his time at Dayton. John Pearson comes in the class. Like, you got a lot of guys. Ethan Fry has experience in the outfield. You can throw him into the DH fight as well, man. Ethan Fry absolutely is part of that. But outfield, 5 guys for 3 spots. Jake Brown, Ashton Larson, Josh Pearson, Chris Stanfield, and Derek Curiel. The interesting thing about Brown is I think he would have been your day one starting center fielder if not for Derek Curiel showing up on campus and Chris Stanfield going undrafted. And I think Derek Curiel had a great shot to be your day one starting center fielder as a freshman if not for Chris Stanfield going undrafted. Y'all, it has to be Chris Stanfield, in my opinion. This is a guy who would be entering his 3rd year of conference ball. The bat is a question mark, but Chris Stanfield is Michael Braswell. He is a guy who has shown elite ability defensively up to this point. I know Braswell had struggles last year, whatever. But at South Carolina, he was elite defensively. Stanfield is that from Auburn. He catches everything in the outfield. Elite speed on the base paths and in center. The bat is what he's looking to improve. Jay Johnson can help you with that. And if he does, Chris Stanfield, being a veteran center fielder in the SEC, needs to start for LSU in center field, and I believe would. So what does the rest of your outfield look like? Ashton Larson's going to have a spot. Ashton Larson was your leading hitter in conference play. Like right now, as we talk about this in July, that guy has a spot. We'll see how it goes through camp and all those. But Larson's going to have a spot. And also, he's been ripping it up on the Cape. Like, Ashton Larson is destroying the Cape Cod League this summer, and it's incredible. So I think Larson's in there at one of the corner spots. Then you're looking at Jake Brown, Curiel, and Josh Pearson. And I think Josh Pearson right now is the odd man out in that from a defensive standpoint. Not that Josh Pearson's not a good defensive outfielder. Of course he is. Look at the catches he made in Omaha. But you have an opportunity to have guys who project in center field play one of your corner spots in Brown and Curiel, and I think you see a little bit of a platoon between those guys. You probably would see Jake Brown get an opening day start because he's the veteran, and we'll see. And again, you got to see how Curiel adjusts to college baseball. That's how Josh Pearson fights his way back into this because he's a veteran who they trust, and he knows the ropes, and he's a program guy. And there's going to be a moment in 2025 when they need a big hit, and they're going to go to Josh Pearson, and he's going to get it because that's what he does. But right now, I think he's the odd man out in that outfield. And I think Curiel's going to get plenty of opportunity to play. But I think if they had to play a game today, you would see an outfield of left to right, Brown, Stanfield, Larson. So, Let's run through it one more time. Outfield left to right, Brown, Stanfield, Larson. Infield left to right, Dickinson, Braswell, Milam, Jones. Priester behind the plate. That's what I have for you for a projected lineup. Again, I didn't put them in order, an actual batting order, but that's what I'm looking at. Y'all, they have the pieces. But I actually find them in a very similar situation than they were last year. They're extremely deep and extremely talented, and you have a lot of guys who are worthy of playing on this team. You have to figure out who they are. And if you're LSU and you want this to come together in 25, unlike it did in 24, you need to figure that out sooner rather than later. That has, you really need to know where you are probably heading into that last weekend of non-conference play. Or at least have a good idea. And then maybe it doesn't go great in the SEC and you have to make some changes, fine. But they need to settle faster than they did in 2024. Because as we talked about, that was ultimately the undoing of that season. You had guys that didn't click the way you thought it would, and you stuck with them for a really long time, and ultimately it didn't pay off. That has to change in 2025. We'll see if it does. But if you're excited right now, you should be. Because on paper, they are more than a contender, and they are really, really good on paper. They haven't even hit the field yet. They'll do that in, October. And we'll do our best to keep you updated there as well. Y'all smash the like button. Get subscribed up to the podcast if you haven't already. Get subscribed up on your YouTube channel, on your favorite podcast app. Follow me on social media. All the good stuff. Appreciate everybody for listening. Y'all be here next time for more on Musso at the Box.